They give life to plants. Seeds. They grow into the staple crops that make up much of our diet. And they also mean a lot of cash, for some. You know who I'm talking about, right? The agricultural companies that sell seeds. And not just seeds, but also the chemicals to treat them.
The seeds become a vessel for selling chemicals.
Just a few companies control half of the world's commercial seeds, and they make our plates look more and more similar. To protect food security, governments are building seed vaults. Billionaires are investing millions. And traditional farmers are trying to preserve the varieties they inherited from their ancestors. So, how did big agriculture take control of our seeds? And can we ever get them back? For thousands of years, farmers freely bred, preserved, and shared seeds. But then, agriculture radically changed. In the 20th century, farmers got new machines, chemicals, and lab-made seeds. And big companies stepped in. These major players dominate the market today. One of them had a special role in shaping modern agriculture, especially in the US. Now owned by German multinational Bayer, Monsanto was one of the giants of the business. They turned seeds into property and farmers into submissive customers. To understand how they did it, it's important to know the history. It all started with this guy, John Quinney. In 1901, he founded Monsanto in St. Louis, Missouri, as a chemical company. The firm sold saccharin, an artificial sweetener, and caffeine to companies like Coca-Cola. Both were made from a byproduct of coal. Later, they took the knowledge they would gain about fossil fuels and rolled with it. Monsanto produced styrene, which became a key material for the plastic industry. Then it turned to making PCBs, an insulating material that went on to be used in almost everything, from hulls of boats to Christmas trees and paint that lined pools. But like many of Monsanto's products, it turned out to be extremely toxic. How the company dealt with it was interesting.
There's this document in the archives. It's a confidential meeting, and Monsanto's executives are sitting around saying, well, what do we do about these PCBs? You know, it's an extremely profitable product.
Bartow Elmore is an environmental historian at The Ohio State University. He spent a decade working on this book about Monsanto.
One of the alternatives that someone jots down, it's literally a handwritten note from this meeting, confidential meeting, says, well, maybe we just go out of the business, you know, given that this is toxic. But the second note on that sheet, handwritten note, says, well, maybe we should just sell the hell out of it as long as we possibly can and do nothing else.
Well, PCBs eventually got banned, so Monsanto kept experimenting with what they knew best, chemicals and toxins, this time targeting weeds. During the Vietnam War, Monsanto was one of the largest suppliers of the notorious Agent Orange for the US military. 50 million liters of this deadly herbicide was sprayed to kill trees and tropical foliage that provided cover for the Viet Cong fighters. Not only do these areas remain contaminated, millions have been poisoned by the chemical. Next, Monsanto turned their attention to peacetime weed killing, developing the blockbuster herbicide Roundup. It hit shelves in the 1970s and became the company's key profit driver.
Roundup kills the root, kills the weed.
Roundup kills thanks to its main component, glyphosate, but it ended up killing so well that it also killed farmers' crops, so they could only spray it before planting seeds or after the harvest. But what if there were seeds that could tolerate Roundup? That's how Monsanto stepped into the seed business. In 1996, they rolled up Roundup Ready. These were seeds that were genetically modified to be immune to glyphosate.
Who wouldn't buy into that? It was like magic if you talk to farmers at that moment.
Monsanto's one-stop solution promised to save farmers lots of work. They didn't have to till their fields anymore, an old mechanical way of reducing weeds that can lead to soil erosion. And there was no need to juggle different herbicides. Farmers could get the seeds and the matching chemical from one company. Everybody wins, right? But it was too good to be true.
Weeds almost immediately began developing resistance to Roundup. And you kind of have this cycle in this genetically engineered seed system now of overusing a chemical, which, by the way, is very profitable for the company that's selling it.
Monsanto got farmers hooked. The more Roundup they used, the more resistant the weeds got. So they had to use more and more Roundup. And Monsanto did something else that changed agriculture forever. They patented the technology behind these seeds. This meant they could dictate the way farmers use them. Monsanto created a system that they controlled. By 2008, Monsanto had bought 50 international seed firms. The market power of Monsanto and similar companies was growing more and more. Today, 90% of corn, upland cotton, and soybeans in the US are produced with patented seeds. Monsanto, or today Bayer, is the biggest supplier. The US, Brazil, Argentina, Canada, and India have the largest areas of genetically engineered crops. Modern food production heavily relies on pesticides and fertilizers. This is substantially driving up emissions from nitrous oxide, a greenhouse gas that is the third largest contributor to climate change, after CO2 and methane. The big promise behind genetically engineered crops, like those from Monsanto, are higher yields for farmers. But in 2016, the National Academy of Sciences published a 600-page dossier on the effects of GE crops in the US. Scientists found little evidence that such crops actually lead to higher yields. What has been going up is the use of Monsanto's poster child glyphosate. It's the most used herbicide globally. These two maps of the US show the amount of Roundup being sprayed onto fields. The darker the colors, the more is being used. Meanwhile, what's been going down is the variety of foods on our plates. There are over 50,000 edible plants in the world, but we mostly rely on just 15. Corn, wheat, and rice are the major hits. The modern agricultural system created this standardization of food. Powerful companies owning the seeds get to choose what farmers grow and how, and that determines what we eat. Planting the same varieties also makes crops more vulnerable to drought and disease, and the climate crisis is only making it worse. But it's a different story with traditional seeds.
If you want to look for something that will tolerate harsh climatic conditions, especially now that we are emphasizing on climate change, you can always go back to these seeds that have not been selected.
This is Damaris Oden. She is a plant geneticist at the International Crops Research Institute of the Semi-Arid Tropics.
The good thing is they're also diverse because they just absorb all sorts of traits or pollen from anywhere. And so they're very diverse, they're very durable.
The more different seeds we plant, the higher the chances of finding the ones that can adapt to extreme weather. For example, in just one region in Southeast India, scientists discovered almost 400 varieties of neglected crop species. Among them were 6 traditional local rice varieties that deal better with drought, salty soils, and flooding stress compared to commercial alternatives. Luckily, even when traditional seeds are gone from the fields, they're not always gone. We have them in places like these. More than 1,700 seed banks around the world store the untapped potential of traditional seeds. The latest one recently opened in Colombia, with the largest collection of beans, cassavas, and forages. Samples are free for farmers and researchers. The bank is using the latest AI and machine learning technologies to study crops in search of climate-resilient varieties. Not only researchers are excited about this, the Bezos Earth Fund, created by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, has pledged to invest $17 million in the bank's development. Probably the most famous seed bank, or at least the coolest looking one, is this one in Norway. It stores over 1 million seed samples from across the world, and the chilly permafrost conditions make sure these little fellas are preserved for centuries. The system works like a bank. The depositor owns the samples, the bank, in this case the government of Norway, owns the facility. For example, Brazil has thousands of seeds in here. Some of these seeds were rescued only because indigenous communities and traditional farmers kept them.
This diversity is important.
Rosalia Barbieri is a researcher at the Brazilian Agricultural Research Agency, Embrapa.
Because are important source of genes for plant breeding also, but not just for these, but to maintain, how can I say, a source of seeds to return to these peoples.
Leah's mother donated pumpkin and bean seeds that were cultivated by the family for more than a century. In times of need, communities can turn to these banks. In the 90s, people of the Krau indigenous tribe asked to open some of the cold chambers. They needed traditional corn seeds that had been lost when the community was introduced to the modern rice varieties. Thanks to the seed bank, they recultivated them. Seed keepers, these are the people who take care of the seeds in their community. In the Malnat region of southern India, seed keepers have traditionally been women.
Women were the guardians and the stewards of these little tracts of land around them, where the diversity was very high, where it was a multifunctional, multi-use space.
Sunita Rao is a co-founder of the seed-saving collective Vanastri with over 100 members.
And the ethno-cuisine of the area was, really fantastic, quite incredible, really. And there was also this age-old practice of exchanging seeds, gifting saplings.
The Imodest Seed Bank has 63 varieties of seeds and tubers. Initiatives like these that want to take back control of our seeds and bring back the old practice of exchanging them are popping up around the world. The way we grow our food has drastically changed. It's the large corporations who have benefited at the expense of everyone else. Farmers have got hooked on chemicals and lost ownership of these seeds, and consumers miss out on so many flavors and nutrients. So it's time to ask ourselves, how can we grow food better, this time for everyone? What do you think about the future of our crops? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're still hungry for more environmental stories, we have brand new videos for you every Friday.